because I know a lot of people who make things who don't stand proudly by their stuff. And you mean to tell me that you're gonna be passive with your own and just put it on your story once? Are you fucking crazy, bro? I'm still promoting my album that came out in June. I'm like, no.
I want to talk to all the filmmakers out there. We have had our heads stuck in the sand since the year 2005. I am working on 2 feature films that are not exactly about the music industry, but involve music and musicians. And I think we filmmakers can learn a lot from the way that musicians now operate inside the modern era. First film that I'm working on is Concrete River, which is about a unhoused musician trying to reconnect with his daughter. And the second film is actually a documentary called Becoming Aria. It's about an actual musician who in her 30 years of life has gone through cancer twice, starting at the age of 18, and also got into a car wreck where she had to learn how to walk, talk, and sing again. In both of these circumstances, I've worked with musicians, not only with Aria, but also we cast a musician in the narrative feature film. Minor part, but a very important part. And I've just noticed that musicians do something that we filmmakers don't, which is they understand the assignment that they have to talk about not only the art, but themselves. They're performers, and they realize that every circumstance that they have in order to perform, they will take it. They are not shy about talking about themselves, the music that they're making. They see every avenue as an opportunity to get their music out there. Whereas we filmmakers are kind of like stuck in 2005. We still think we make the art and then somebody else goes out and talks about it. The music industry has long been kind of a canary in the coal mine of what's happening. I remember when I graduated college way back in the day. This was like the beginning of Napster and LimeWire, for those of you who remember LimeWire. And we were all downloading music and thought this was great.
So how many MP3s do you have on your computer? About 600.
Maybe like 100 or something.
6 or 7,000.
Whereas musicians were like, this is really going to cut into how we make money. Musicians back then made money on album sales. If you weren't selling a lot of albums, you weren't making a lot of money, you weren't getting a lot of play. So they had to then pivot to touring. Combine that with Spotify coming about and streaming services, the amount that you can get off of an album, just off of pure album sales, unless you are selling it directly, is like nothing. So musicians got the memo really fast, and they were like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to make money off of merchandise and live shows. If I can't make money off of merchandise and live shows, I am not going to make any money at all. And they just eventually just found different ways to get themselves out there to make money on other things, and we have not gotten the message. I talked to a lot of filmmakers, and I've actually been this filmmaker, truth be told, where it's like we spend all of this time thinking about how we're going to make the best film, which obviously is important, but we spend like zero time thinking about not only how are we going to get this particular film in front of an audience, but how are we going to get ourselves in front of an audience. Before we were going to shoot our trailer, which unfortunately fell apart for Concrete River, the actress who was playing Noelle came in and her manager came in, and I asked him about how is it that the music industry has changed. And he told me it's easier, but also harder. The way that it used to be was there was only a few spots where you could really get your music out there. There was radio stations and there were records. So you would just find a way to get your stuff onto the right radio station. You would just repeat that, and then people would hear the music and they would go buy the album, and that was it. Now, obviously, I mean, I don't know who listens to the radio outside of like when you're driving in your car. Most people listen to podcasts now. So there's not really a lot of like radio play. And again, with album sales tanking, there's no real advantage to that. But there's a lot more avenues. Obviously, social media is one. There's live touring. There's just a lot of different ways that you can get an artist out there. And he brought up the example of Cardi B. Everybody knows who Cardi B is. She is super famous. And he told me that she's only working on her 3rd album. Think about that. We've known about Cardi B for like at least 10 years, and she's made 3 albums. And I bet most of you cannot name one. I know I can't name one, but we know who she is because she has spent time getting herself out there. And we in the film industry have not. We are still like trying to push the work out there first and foremost. Meanwhile, we're like in the back saying like, don't look at me. I don't want to be out in front. Just look at the film that I made, but don't talk to me. Just let the film speak for itself. Yeah, I get it. We don't want to like give too much away, and we want people to go into a movie like not knowing what it's about. Or a musician is not really going to tell you like what the album's about. They're going to be like, listen to the album, and maybe after you've listened to it, then we can talk about the songs. But still, they're out there saying like, hey, I made this. You should go get it. And for whatever reason, we filmmakers have decided, I made this, but I don't want to talk about it. There is, again, another tidal wave of change coming to all the creative industries, from generative AI, changes in the way that art is made and appreciated. There's going to be another giant shift, and I have the suspicion that musicians are going to weather the storm a lot better than filmmakers are. I mean, part of it is the fact that people naturally just want to go see a live show because you get to see the person in the flesh performing music, and a film is you're going from a screen to go sit in front of a bigger screen. But I think we filmmakers could take a lesson from putting on a live show or just putting on a show, period. I cannot tell you how many film festivals or screenings that I have gone to where the conversation after you see the film is really boring. It's basically a bunch of questions where the filmmaker is allowed to talk about how great they are. We're not really getting the audience involved. There was an event called Free to Be that I went to a couple of years back where the questions afterwards were really thought-provoking, and the audience really got into it, and the audience was asking questions that were about more so the themes of the film and what was happening and what it made them think, as opposed to just sitting there and basking in the glow of how great these filmmakers are. Which, I mean, yeah, we obviously want to hear that we did a good job, but at the same time, it's a collaborative medium and you want to have the audience involved as well. So I think we can learn a lot from the music industry and just put on a better show. The other thing is that with all these changes in technology, we have to be more front and center. I know we're artists. It's tiring. I get it. We don't want to be in like front of a camera and talking. Frankly, just making these YouTube videos right now and talking in front of a camera for the longest time has just been nerve-wracking and frightening to me. So I get not wanting to do it. But the other side of the coin is only a few people get to do it. There was an article written in the Ankler about how basically the same people are making all of the movies. There's hardly any new talent coming in at all. Whereas you look at the music industry, there's always new talent that you hear about. Part of it, yeah, maybe that there's like a lot more video to see, but there's a lot of music to be heard too. There's a lot of people making music. It's easier to make music now more than ever, but we still hear about lots of new musicians. We don't hear about lots of new filmmakers. And I have a suspicion that it's because we're hiding behind the camera instead of getting out in front of it. The next wave of filmmakers is going to be people who are comfortable both being in front and center of the camera, who are good talking to people, not just in front of a camera, but also in front of an audience. People who can put on a show in addition to making a great film. And also people who can think about the business side as well as the art side. The art has to be good, but, you know, I got bills to pay. And I need this thing to make some money. You know, my landlord doesn't care that I make great art. They want those checks to be cashed. We kind of have to have a foot in both worlds. When I was coming up with like, how am I going to make a company that makes films and also stays profitable? We have to also think of our films. I mean, obviously we want to make money off the movie. You don't want to lose your investors' money. Nobody likes to lose money, and a great way to have people not like you and want to invest in more of your movies is by not returning their money. We should also think of what we're doing as essentially marketing for ourselves and what we do, because I mean, making a movie takes a long time to get going, and it takes a long time to make, and it takes a long time to finish. So what are the other sources of income that we can use to surround ourselves with? The movie comes out, but what other things besides just the movie itself and like selling it to a large platform or getting it in theaters can we also do. In the case of Concrete River, whenever we get it going, we're thinking about screening it alongside of live performances. We're thinking about having a great soundtrack, having a graphic novel to go alongside of it. I'm sure there's other things that we can think of that to generate revenue and also excitement and bring in new audiences. There's a lot of ways you can do it. The light bulb's starting to go off with a lot more filmmakers that, yeah, I need to start thinking about how I can take control and about how I can be thinking about how I'm going to get this movie in front of audiences, because the relationship between filmmaker and distributor is kind of broken right now, because again, there's only so many people who are actually making things for a large company. So we have to do it ourselves. It's just a thing that we have to think about. And also, it makes you a better partner. Like if you go into somebody's office and say, here's my movie and I want to work alongside you, I'll do whatever that you need me to do to get the word out there. That looks a lot better than if you just say, here's the movie, now you go take care of the rest. I'm going to go on vacation. You tell me when it's screening somewhere and I'll show up and say a few words and then go home. Even with this tidal wave of generative video coming in, people still want to see long form stories by other human beings. They want to know your experience, what you think, that you feel the same way that they feel. That's how we make connections with other people. In this coming era, being in front of the camera being in front of the camera and talking and just being there with people lets them know that you will actually exist and that you are human. I think this is what we have to do. I'm going to be talking to a lot of the musician people that I know, and not only the ones who are going to be in the 2 movies that I'm working on, but just also ones that I've met over the years, and just ask like, hey, what are you doing? Because I think all us artists can learn from each other. We've kind of been stuck in our silos for a little bit. We're like, well, the musicians do that thing, and I'm a filmmaker, I do this thing, and the graphic designer does that thing. But it's all interconnected and related, because truth be told, there's a lot of large companies that would like to just eat it all and take it away from us and just have it be this computerized output that has zero value. I've seen how the music industry shifts really fast, takes new technologies that are coming and uses it to their own advantage or finds a way to circumvent them overall. Like when streaming came out, I saw all the musicians, they put their stuff on Spotify to like get a certain amount of plays, but they were making their own videos. They were going hard on social media, especially like TikTok and Instagram. They are not shy about putting themselves out there in any shape or form, because they know I'm not going to be able to make music if nobody knows who I am. And right now we are in an era where if we want to make visual media, people have to know who we are. We have to get comfortable in front of a camera. If you're not comfortable being in front of a camera, just start small. Just hook it up and start talking to it. Don't even hit record. Just speak to the camera and make friends with it. Pretend like you're talking to your best friend or somebody who could use a lesson from you. Then switch on the record button. Turn it on, start talking again, get more comfortable. Take small little steps in order to get more comfortable in front of the camera. I also recommend taking acting classes, improv classes, just being comfortable performing in front of other people. It goes a really long way. All of these things add up, so that way you can sit not only in front of a camera and talk, but you're going to have to do panels, you're going to have to do conferences, you're going to have to talk about your movie, and being able to speak about it at length, give good insight, it's just going to help you in your career overall. I wrote about this at length in my Substack, which I will leave in the description below. Just go to mauriceLitica.substack.com and you can read the full piece, and you can also read about the previous progress that I've made with Concrete River, which is very much a music film. So check that out, and I will speak to everyone next time.